order the reorganization meeting of the Los Virgenes Unified School District of December 14th, 2021. First thing we do is a flag salute, and Ms. Stone, if you would like to come and lead us in the flag salute back there. We would love that, yes.
Don't look so excited about that.
We love when teachers come, and we love to.
Come up here.
Yes.
All right. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item is approval of agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Appointment of temporary chairman.
I move to appoint Dr. Daniel Stepanowski as our temporary chairman.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Stepp.
I'm always in trouble when my middle name is used.
I didn't use it. I said your full name. I said Daniel. Never mind.
It is my pleasure to serve as temporary chairperson for the reorg proceeding, and our first step is to share some appreciation and love for our outgoing president, Ms. Cutbill. So we have a number of certificates from nearby. First up from the halls of Congress, Congressman Ted Lieu sent a congressional certificate of recognition from the great city of Agora Hills, also a certificate of recognition signed by their mayor. And finally, just in, I think, a few minutes ago, from Senator Henry Stern, a certificate of recognition from the state of California Senate. So we have those three things, if we could pass those down. It's my pleasure to start off with a few comments about Ms. Cutbill. So reflecting back on the last year, not much happened. You may have noticed if you were paying attention at home. We the entire team, on behalf of the entire team, the staff and the 10,300 students, we so appreciate Ms. Cutbill's calm, cool, collected leadership throughout the pandemic. This was a great time to have an experienced president leading the reopening of schools. And in fact, more recently, I've heard from a number of schools that they appreciated us, of course, not only being the first open, but allowing so many of them to visit us and see the protocols we had in place, and that it directly heard from superintendents that it allowed them to open up much faster than they had thought or anticipated. Also during Ms. Cutbill's presidency, she reigned over 45 different Los Angeles County health order changes. That's on top of 25 health order changes relative to sports alone. A few other things we accomplished this year: lowest class sizes in Los Virgenes history. First time in our district history we've had full-time counselors at all of our TK5s to support our students, and we are seeing how beneficial that is. We've got a first time also on full-time VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts Specialist, at each of our elementaries. Our district counseling center has expanded and was awarded a $2.5 million grant to support our students as we come out of this pandemic. Also the first district in the state of California to receive a Commission on Teacher Credentialing accreditation for our 3 credentialing programs. We have a 7-year accreditation, and we have 25 different local districts participating in that program, over 250 graduates, and not least of which Ms. Cutbill, during her presidency, received and responded to 9,043 emails.
What?
It does feel like 9,040.
I thought it felt like 90,000, honestly. We so appreciate your leadership, your heart. You care so deeply about the staff and the students and their well-being and their safety and their learning and growth. And we can see that in every action, every word, every visit to the schools. And so on behalf of the entire team, we cannot thank you enough. We have a small gift.
Yep. Swag.
Let's see if Dr. Gleason can maybe hold that for me. Unveil this. Let's see. Here we go. It is a carafe. It could be used for adult beverages made of grapes, or Dr. Gleason might use it for Diet Coke, or
That's beautiful.
Dr. Finner might use it for something else. So we present this to you, engraved, And we thank you so much. Maria did all the wrapping and deserves all the credit. Are there other board members who would like to say something?
Yes, I'd like to start, please. President, oh, you're not the president anymore. Mrs. Cutbill, I want to give you this gift on behalf of the board. For me, 2021 was more challenging, honestly, than even 2020. And you, as you helped us lead us out of the pandemic. As students and staff returned to campuses full-time, there were many changes and challenges, and we still have, changes and challenges. So it's been, quite a year. Students and staff health and safety was always in the forefront of your leadership as president. Your caring and calm leadership style helped us all keep focused, and you did it with kindness and humility. You are an effective communicator, 9,000 emails, I think you said, and a relationship builder and fosterer, all qualities which serve the community and all of our stakeholders well, especially in a crisis. You care deeply for every single one of our students and staff, and you are always prepared. Thank you for your time and commitment and for working closely with Dr. Stepp and for making sure the board had the info we needed to be able to do our jobs to the best of our ability. I'm grateful, as always, to serve with you and to have you lead us as president this past year. Thank you.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and I don't want to repeat it, but it's so true. This past year could be measured in dog years, I think. It felt so long, right? Every day was like 3 days or 4 days. But you definitely led with kindness, compassion, and courage, and it was an honor to serve with you. And I appreciate all the support that you gave me personally. You put me on, I don't know, like a dozen committees, get my feet wet, and you're like, I know you can handle it. I know you can do it. And every step of the way, you were super supportive, and it can't be said enough how much you truly care about each and every student and staff member. And that comes across so clearly, and what a gift you are to our district. So thank you so much. Thank you.
So I would also like to add that Ms. Cutbill has been an advocate for the district and students at the local level, as well as at the state and at the federal level. She has worked hard to make sure all voices are heard and has been an excellent spokesperson for the board in her responses to the multitude of emails we received as board members. I truly feel that she has represented the voice of the board in her replies. I have served on the board for 6 years with Ms. Cutbill, and each year has had its own particular challenge. To face all of these challenges, you need a firm grasp of the role of a governing board member, as well as the knowledge of resources to use to get the job done. And Mrs. Cutbill has done both. Mrs. Cutbill is also an excellent public speaker, and which is why I'm reading mine. And I am proud of the job she has done in all of her speaking engagements during her presidency. She has shown what it means to be a public servant during her time on our board. Thank you for everything you have done for our district and everything that I know you will continue to do for our district.
I would just add, I remember 8 years ago when I met Ms. Cutbill on the campaign trail, and I remember thinking what an absolute formidable and impressive president she was. And after the election, I remember a city council member saying, "You're going to love working with Angela." She is, the way she approaches government, the way she approaches leadership. I know the last year has been a little straining for us, and I have appreciated very much your professionalism at the board as board president. I have had the privilege of being your vice president twice, which has been more rewarding than I think than LBJ defined the vice presidency, but still it's been a pleasure to serve you and to see the leadership that you take on behalf of our community. I know I remember reading one of your recent emails back to a constituent. I think you sent it back within a half an hour of them emailing, and it was about a 300-word response. It was a detailed, very thoughtful response that pulled data and stats out, and I just remember thinking, where's the time come to do that? And there were probably 9,000 of those, as Dr. Stepanowski said. But I appreciate you and thankful for your leadership as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
I'd like to thank the cabinet and the board for their support this past year, and I especially want to thank our staff and our teachers. I'm especially proud that when things were at our worst, everyone was, I think, at their best, and how much this staff cares for students. And at some point when we first shut down, I was terribly worried about what kids might lose and academics, and that quickly went away and became more about caring about kids themselves and how they are. And I think about, someone once asked, a student once asked Margaret Mead, the anthropologist, what was the first sign of civilization in an ancient society? And the student sort of expected that they might say, fish hooks or grinding stones or clay pots. And she said, no, it's the evidence of a femur, of a thigh bone that is broken and healed. Because in the animal kingdom, when you break the biggest bone in the body, that's it. It's over for you. No animal survives that break long enough. But evidence of a healed femur means someone has cared for the person. Someone got them water. Someone took them to safety. And she said, caring for others is really the first sign of civilization. And I've seen so much caring in our district, from parents, from teachers, from kids, especially from teachers, that I'm just so heartened and so proud to be a part of Las Virgenes. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. So.
We'll now move forward with the election of officers. First up, is there a nomination for the office of president?
I'd like to make a nomination. It would be my pleasure to nominate Dr. Vidara for the position of board presidency.
And I will second that.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have to accept before we vote, though.
It would be my honor to accept the position of president.
Okay, well, the board needs to vote first,
Yep.
Dr. Vidara.
I'm
Okay.
at the nomination.
Yep. Okay.
It was moved by Mr. Lawrence and seconded by Ms. Stein that Dr. Vidara be nominated to the office of president for the period of December 14, 2021 through December 13, 2022. May I have the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Congratulations, Dr. Vidara. Is there a nomination for the office of vice president?
I would like to
Oh, no, go ahead.
no.
I'd like to nominate Linda Mangus.
Okay. I'll second it.
Okay. It was moved by Ms. Stein and seconded by Ms. Cutbill that Ms. Menges be nominated for the office of vice president for the period of December 14, 2021 through December 13, 2022. I'll now call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By a vote of 5-0, Ms. Menges has been nominated and approved for the office of vice president for the period mentioned before. Congratulations, Ms. Menges. And is there a nomination for office of clerk?
I would like to nominate Leslie Stein.
I will second it.
The second was Ms. Cutbill. It was moved by Ms. Menges and seconded by Ms. Cutbill that Ms. Stein be nominated to the office of vice president for the period of December 14, 2021 through December 13, 2022. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. By a vote of 5-0, it was moved and seconded that Ms. Stein become office of the clerk. Congratulations, Ms. Stein.
Thank you all very much.
It is now my pleasure to return the temporary chairpersonship over to our new president, Dr. Vidara.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have consent D of the reorganization, and we need a motion to approve,
I'll move to approve.
Second.
and this is board vote only. So, board vote,
Aye.
Aye.
okay. And then that is that. Now we're at adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn the reorganization meeting.
I'll second.
Board vote?
Do we need to do that?
Aye, yes,
Aye.
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 Thought we just adjourned.
Okay. Hit it. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular session of the December 14th board meeting and our report out of closed session. I'd just like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones and that our meeting is being recorded. And out of closed session, I'd like to report that the board voted 5-0 to approve the waiver of student expulsion hearing and stipulated suspended expulsion agreement signed and dated December 3rd, 2021 for case number 21-22.1. And also, the board voted 5-0 to uphold the level 2 response from the staff dated November 5th, 2021. Okay. Next item is approval of minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes of November 9th and the minutes of November 1st.
Second.
Okay, student vote
Aye.
and board vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and now staff board communication. Willow?
Madam President, members of the board, CHS and Agora has had an amazing year and is looking forward to the upcoming holiday break. Agora had their Winter Spirit Week and outside pep rally last week. They also had their coffee house night, which featured many talented AHS performers. Bella sent out a school-wide survey to vote new possible vending machine snacks for their school, and AHS finished up their holiday drive for toys and non-perishable food. Friday, Agora will be having their Freshman Frost, which is a nutrition event that freshmen put on to sell hot chocolate to the student body. CHS is in the middle of their dodgeball tournament, with teams consisting of both students and teachers. Following the success of our Nova canned food drive, where we donated over 2,000 pounds, Calabasas is continuing our service with an NHS toy drive. We also capped off Native American Heritage Month with a touching video honoring the history of the people. At CHS, I set up a town hall with administration attending to get direct feedback from students about issues and concerns on campus. Finally, Bella and I attended the CSBA conference, where we worked with student board members all across California and attended an informational panel which helped us better understand our roles on the board and in the community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Stein.
Is it on?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stein?
Thank you very much. It's been a busy few weeks for me. I have been very interested in getting out to our elementary schools to see the full-time counselors, the visual and performing arts teachers, and the ruler program that was adopted throughout the district, which mood meter and really getting students getting connected with their feelings. So I have visited Mariposa, Lupin Hill, White Oak, Yerba Buena and Buttercup, and Bay Laurel. Tomorrow I'm going to Chaparral to read to the students and to also do a small tour there as well. So that honestly is my most fun thing to do, is visit schools as a board member. So we have about 10,000, almost 500 students, and it's wonderful to see what all of our teachers are doing and the excitement in our students' eyes. Mrs. Cutbill and I met with Captain Becerra of the Lost Hills Sheriff's Department last Friday, and about an ongoing partnership. We meet with him about once a year or more if needed to talk about, that they're right in the middle of our district, which is nice to have them there. And we talked about the Props 56 grant money that the district was just awarded, and that's going to be on a later agenda item. So hold your excitement till later. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Ms. Cutbill?
Just been out to a lot of schools as well, and love seeing, kids back in class and the level of normality that we have. So that's it for me.
Okay, great. Mr. Lawrence?
A couple things. First, I'd like to congratulate you on becoming board president. I know I speak for everybody here when I say we wish you the best in this term. I also just wanted to take a moment and thank you for being public and for your advocacy for ALS and what you're doing. It's powerful and touching, and I think it's, raises a great awareness for a very important cause. And as I shared with you personally, it means a lot to me personally. So thank you for that public leadership. I'd like to also thank the Calabasas Chamber of Commerce. for hosting their great annual holiday gathering this past week. It was a great reminder of, we talked about a lot of the struggles that we've had with schools and classrooms, but man, our small businesses and our local businesses have really suffered and struggled during this pandemic. And it's just a reminder, if possible, to shop locally this holiday season. Our businesses need our support. They're doing all they can to kind of recoup and come back from what was a pretty unprecedented hit to their businesses. Also had an opportunity to join the reorganization meeting at the Calabasas Chamber, at the city of Calabasas. Big congratulations to James Bazagian on his 6th term as mayor that he wrapped up this year. James has been on the city council for 25 years. Really quite an outstanding accomplishment for James. And congratulations to the new incoming mayor, Mary Sue Maurer, who really laid out a really exciting and I think a bold agenda for her term, focused on what the local organizations can do. And as she was speaking, I just heard Mrs. Kimmel 4 years ago saying the same thing when we chose to lean in on things like reducing paper and reducing waste. But the Calabasas has really laid out a bold agenda for leading the environmental movement from the ground up versus waiting for the federal or state or other entities to do it. And I shared with her after the meeting that really we ought to get together and have a conversation, because I think we really set that agenda before it was hip. You were way ahead of the curve, and it was really great to see all the great things our campuses and our district has embraced. And lastly, I want to thank Ms. Kimball and the finance team. We had a good finance committee meeting, Ms. Couple and I, and a great meeting with the auditor. It's one of the things I've loved being on the school board and being on the finance committee for now 8 years is our audit meetings are probably the shortest any board ever attends, because the auditor spends 15 minutes with us and says, clean audit. And I think that's a great testament to the team and what you guys have done. I know we had a new auditor this year and a bunch of new rules, but the results are the same. Our books are solid, and it's just it's refreshing and just wonderful to know that those finances that the taxpayers entrust us with are in such great hands.
Thank you. Ms. Menges?
I would like to go back all the way to November 16th, and which in dog years seems like a lifetime ago. But Dr. Videra and Dr. Stepanowski brought in Dr. Jennifer Silvers to give a webinar on how to support adolescents through the pandemic, and I thought it was very well done. Also, I went with Ms. Stein to visit Lupin Hill, and it was so exciting to be back on campus and seeing classes in session and being able to see the counselors and the visual and performing arts teachers and all the great programs that are going on, and asking the students if they were really happy to be back in class, and all of them were. I loved seeing their intervention lab, which they call the WIN lab. And then I also attended virtually the Westlake Village City Council reorg meeting and represented the board at that. And I, along with several cabinet members, went to the Westlake Village sing-along, which was a lot of fun. And it just shows how people are trying to cautiously and slowly and carefully reopen after the pandemic, and try and get back some of the events that used to take place without a second thought prior to the pandemic. So,
Wonderful. Thank you. I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone for your support as we kind of embark on this, at least new year for me. And I'm really excited to move forward, and I have a lot of energy, and can't be more excited to keep up my advocacies. So thank you for the opportunity. Okay. Dr. Stepp?
Madam President, members of the board, I'm thrilled to hear that you have a lot of energy. I'm not sure how much energy I have left, but the team has plenty. Got a couple slides here. First up, Ms. Kimmel, is this our 6th or 8th vaccine clinic? I've lost count. 8th vaccine clinic. Holy smokes. So we just recently held that. That is Champ the Cult from Round Meadow. I believe that was Dr. Seifries maybe at the time, who was an outstanding mascot and worked the room like a champ.
You'll do anything for food. Oh, sorry.
At our most recent vaccine clinic, we did 685 first shots, and then 602 coming back, 50 boosters, and they had flu shots as well. It is a joy partnering with Albertsons. They do throw us curveballs every once in a while. We didn't know they were bringing boosters and flus, but we were happy to have that there as well. So the next two slides are just a bit of a shout out to the amazing team that all made this possible. Miss Jessie Sweeney was a huge part of that. Our nurse Melissa Foster was a huge part of it. Hallie Chambers and Karen Kimmel all were really instrumental in pulling off all of these. And so much appreciation to all of them.
Thank you so much.
And the next slide has a few more names on it also from the leaders. And there's a photo with Dr. Roberts and Dr. Duncan. And I believe this was in appreciation of our volunteers who led the way. Of course, it was held at AU Wright, and Dr. Roberts was a terrific host. And I believe this was the very first shot we gave away, which is his son, Dr. Roberts' son, right there, a Lupin student. So again, once again, much appreciation for them. And here's the results. LA County has just added 5 through 11-year-olds on there. So as of just a few hours ago, we were at 47.4% of our 5 through 11 population. And there's the numbers who have a first dose and the total population. So that is phenomenal. It places us around 7th or so in the county of Los Angeles with 80 school districts.
That's nice. Wow. Okay.
And I believe that was Dr. Finner and her daughter in the photo there.
Can I ask a question about that? It's the note, curious to know, I was sending you and Ms. Jeffries earlier about sports. I'm just wondering, is there any conversation underway about once that number gets up to like 97%, and we now have 97% of every student on our campus vaccinated, this new requirement that kids have to wear masks for basketball for AYBA is just brutal for 7-year-olds to wear masks running up and down indoors if they're already vaccinated. Is there any inclination that they might, or any wording that they might limit that once we get to a herd immunity on vaccination for kids, or just no?
I wish. I mean, first of all, venturing into the mind of LA County Public Health is a challenge. I think they're really responding not really to the vaccination level gives us a certain level of comfort in the county, but I think really what's driving their thinking is watching the case rate, which the numbers have increased. The infectious rate has increased. Last I checked this morning, it was like 1.13, and anything really above a 1, at or above a 1 is an expanding situation. So I think that's really what's driving it, rather than the vaccine percentage rate. But yeah, I know my daughter's a captain on the girls' basketball team, and they've been wearing their masks all season last year and all season this year, and it's running up a court, for an 18-year-old or a 8-year-old is with a mask on is challenging.
So the other question I had is that only an indoor rule, or if the kids were playing basketball outside, could they be mask-free?
I believe that's an indoor, high exertion indoor sports, right, Dr. Cyphers?
Yeah, correct. So if they're like practicing outdoors, they do not have to wear their mask at that time.
So then, sorry, last question. I got bombarded by this yesterday by AYBA parents. Is there any ability for us to open up our outdoor courts and make the nets adjustable? Because that's the issue. Our outdoor nets aren't as adjustable as the indoor nets. So if the teams wanted to move their games outside, would, one, the insurance cover that? And two is, can we adjust the nets to the 9.5 foot levels?
Depends on the facility. Off the top of my head, I don't know if we have outdoor adjustables. And then as far as whether or not they're adjustable would depend on the availability of our outdoor courts.
Okay. Is it something maybe just you could follow up with me on an email or something, so I could just,
Yeah.
I think we have a long season left, and I think that's a big issue parents are raising.
Yeah, Ms. Kimmel and I can connect, and happy to get back to you.
Thank you.
We have walked the cities late last year as we were contemplating bringing sports back for the first time. We did meet with our cities and walk several of our outdoor facilities. At the time, thinking even high school games would have to be outdoors. Playing, varsity athletes playing on an asphalt court, volleyball or basketball, is far from optimal because they end up on the deck a lot.
Yep.
Same with little kids. So we have shared, that the facilities are out there. We've redone all the rims and the backyard at you're right. So we've told the city we're wide open, to their expanded use of any of our outdoor facilities.
Thank you.
And there's also plenty, if we can adjust them, cities can bring in adjustable backstops that, portable kind of temporary things as well that, you anchor down with sandbags, that kind of thing. All right, next slide. So that was 511. Next slide is an update on our 12 to 18s. This is first dose, and we're at 93.1%, which continues to place us 6th in the county. And our fully vaccinated 2 dose is at 87%, which is super close and up there as well, and awesome. Next slide. On December 2nd, we had Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel. He oversees Calabasas, Hidden Hills, and Westlake Village, and he stopped by with President Cutbill met with students, Student Board Member Willow, and two of her colleagues, along with Principal Exner. It was a terrific discussion. Candidly, my favorite part of the meeting was when Willow shared the unintended consequences of the early start to our high schools. And that was an unrehearsed, but perfectly choreographed moment between Ms. Cutbill, myself, and you, Willow. So we appreciate your candor and advocacy. And honestly, I shared at the time, it was, Assemblymember Gabriel and I agree on many things, and that was really a very tense and heated moment. I know our board was loudly advocated against it, knowing that, starting things later just pushes high schoolers' lives later in the day. As well, and wasn't really a solution. And I think it was a candid discussion, and I appreciate you being at the table and his time and listening to you guys. Next slide. And of course, that's the best part. Did that Monday morning over at Chaparral and had a blast. Next slide. I think Ms. Stein mentioned earlier, we do have Prop 56 funds. Until today, I hadn't known the full name of Prop 56, the California Healthy Care Research and Prevention Tobacco Tax Act of 2016. We were just awarded $700,000 from Prop 56 funds, and we will collaborate with LA County Sheriff's Department with those funds. We will, unfortunately, we had thought we would hear 6 months ago on this, and we didn't, so we assumed we were out. We'd already received funding back, I think, in 2017 or 18. But they showed up with new funding, so we're thrilled to have that situation. But we're also, of course, Dr. Gleason is lead on this one. We're also learning what their new requirements are. Their new requirements are an MOU and a resolution, neither of which did we have prepared. Dr. Gleason met with LA County Sheriff's staff extensively yesterday morning, and of course got that new information about the requirements from the Department of Justice. This is a grant administered by the State Department of Justice. So he may share a few things when we hit that information item, action item, because of approval. But there'll be no action required for the board tonight, and we will bring that MOU and resolution back to the board in January. Next slide. Always love appreciating, supporting our foundation. Our foundation supports all of our 15 schools, and they have a magic event coming up Saturday the 18th, 7:30. These are fun events. I was at the comedy event. I watched the comedy virtually. It's a lot of fun. This is family friendly, $35 per household, so please consider a fun night with Jonathan Levitt and some magic that supports the foundation, which supports all of our schools. And that concludes staff communication, Madam President.
I have one more question, sorry, perfect timing. The additional update that came out from the CDPH talked about leaving California, if you did, having to be tested before you came back in the wording said strongly recommend, but last time they did that, I think, didn't LA County then put in place some sort of no travel, like you had to be out for a time period before you came back if you left the state? I'm just wondering if we're hearing any, as we head off to the holidays, like, I think we were right here a year ago, basically. We were like, it was before Easter or something. We were trying to give parents guidelines, like, if you're going to leave the state, are we getting any inclination of that this time?
The inclinations I'm having, and maybe Ms. Falk was on the most recent conversation, or Ms. Kimmel that could share, I think there's a lot of reluctance to go down the path we did before. Obviously, I think the public sentiment is, not there as well. And the fact that we've got the vaccines and boosters out rolling. So I think right now they're holding at the recommendation about testing. If you leave the country, you must test 24 hours prior to boarding the plane. And then I think the federal CDC is strongly recommending a test within 3 days of returning, but I don't think that's a requirement at this point.
Okay.
There's also a new requirement about coming into California.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That was part of the CDPH guidelines that came out. But it didn't say requirement, though. It
Right.
said
And within 3
strongly,
days or coming
strongly.
in.
That's
Right.
why I wasn't sure if they were signaling they're going to move there in the next couple of weeks.
I don't think with all what I've heard on the news is with all the new masking and everything else, there's no enforcement. So they're telling you, it's holiday time, people are going to get together, just be careful, be safe, but there's no enforcement. I did actually hear that.
If you're eligible, get boosted.
Right.
Right?
Isn't everybody now, I think, didn't they lift it? Isn't everybody now eligible to be boosted in California? So everybody can get boosted who's over the age of 18.
Yes. And if you are going to travel, just check with your, it's very individual. So check with your airline. They'll have specific things you have to do. So Do we have any speakers from, anyone else speaking, Dr. Stubb? No? Okay,
Nope.
great, thank you. Do you have anyone speaking from the audience?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, all right, great. So consent A,
I'll move, oops, sorry, keep going.
items for action.
I'll move to approve consent A.
I'll second it.
Any questions?
No, I'm just excited to see field trips back on here.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the time and effort that's gone into this from the staff who oversee these programs and these trips to have safety and protocols and do all their due diligence so that kids can go on these and stay safe, so.
I did have a question. Where, and forgive me if this is in a letter and I missed it, where did we land on overnight field trip request, vaccination, no vaccination? If you're unvaccinated, can you go on an overnight field trip?
So each of the field trips has a protocol that is standard for each field trip. It's in your packet. And so it's highly encouraged that everyone be vaccinated. And if you're not, then everyone is still being tested within 72 hours of leaving, or if that's PCR, or a 24-hour rapid test. And they're following all the social distancing, masking indoors, et cetera. And they have a COVID coordinator, okay, much like you do on a movie set or a TV set. So I was really impressed with the guidelines, and so that is, I think, the best that we can do. So,
I guess the question I had, thank you for that. When this came up a couple months back, I thought we were going to get maybe a more of a clear, what is a policy across the way for this time period versus what is Catalina doing versus Astro Camp? Because one of the challenges we have right in those is we're dependent upon the other schools who come having rigorous standards as well, and if they have no standards and their kids are coming. So do we have to give parents a sense of comfort, just blanket across do we have a policy for overnight field trip requests that you have to be vaccinated or tested before, a LVUSD policy that says before you get on that bus, you're either vaccinated or tested? Okay.
We do.
So that's separate apart from whatever else the groups require?
Yes.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you.
It's in every one of the field trip forms. And I do anticipate lower attendance rates. I think we probably all anticipate that. Looks like I'm seeing some nods in the room. So we're experiencing some of that, but I do so appreciate the staff moving forward quickly, everyone in the room moving quickly and putting those together and getting in front of us and jumping through the critical and important extra safety procedures in place. So thank you very much.
I do know Ms. Foster is here, so I appreciate that she always looks at and knows and monitors everything we do for safety, so. Keeping our
Okay.
kids safe, so thank you.
any other questions? Okay. Student vote?
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Great. Board vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, wonderful.
Trips are back.
It's a party in the lobby.
Happy you can go home now, right? They're all.
Dr. Vadera, usually at this point, we just excuse everyone who's
Okay,
here for a
thank
field
you.
trip because we have about, I think, probably
Right.
12 or so
Okay,
here.
so.
Thank you.
You can stay if you want. It's riveting
Right.
stuff.
They don't want to stay through the
I
budget
thought they wanted to
discussion.
Stay. Thank you.
Would you like a motion to approve consent B?
I would.
Motion to
Thank
approve
you.
consent B.
I'll second.
Great. And this is board vote only? Board vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, and action items. Action item 1, approval of first interim budget report. Dr. Stepp?
Ms. Kimmel, next two are yours. Take them away. Next three.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight, we bring to you first interim. I want to give my gratitude to Christine Torres. She worked very hard and long hours to create this report, and she's unfortunately sick this evening, so she's unable to present it. But I can summarize. Basically, what we are presenting to the board is a first interim report where the revenues are increased by $11 million, but offset by expenditures of $7.6 million. So an overall change of $1.4 million to result in deficit spending of $7.3 And I think you can hop through a couple slides, Jim, to get to that number, the number there. So just a couple of highlights on the adjustments. Mostly it's delays in classified hiring. A lot of vacancies still. We're having, so it was sort of slow going in getting some of those filled, but I know that the HR department is on a roll, and I'm feeling confident with the new year that we're going to get those filled. So we have budgeted to have them in place for second semester. Just going through that, I just want to draw your attention to our multi-year projections. So if we go a few more slides, there's the assumptions. I'll tell you when to stop. One more. Oh, stirs and purrs is always a highlight of our budget projection. So just wanted to remind everybody when we started pension reform, we were at about a $5.3 million pension obligation for the school district. Right now, we're at about $14 million, and it's going to go up another $3.5 million in the next 3 years. So that has just become a behemoth budget item for the school district.
And Ms. Kimmel, I want to make it very clear to the public that this is not because we added a lot of employees. We added basically not many or any employees. We're
no.
straight. This is strictly a shift in the pension liability from the state onto the backs of school districts.
Thank you, Ms. Stein. Exactly. This is all trying to shore up the pensions that were, set in stone in statute that were not properly funded. And so the state is shifted, as you said, that responsibility to the school system.
What-
So,
I think do you have the slide that shows what they gave and what they took away? Because I don't want to take that away if you have that in here, because I think that,
I think our multi-year projection shows some of that, so.
because I think a
we can
key
share
point to
that.
Ms. Stein's point is it looks like the state gives us a bunch of new money every year, but with one hand, they give us some, and then the other hand, they increase our pension benefits to wipe out what they give us. So it's a shell game that is disheartening.
Right. So the next slide shows the assumptions we use as we build out our budget. We work through the current year, and then we have 2 additional years after that. You can see on this slide how much our funding is per ADA and how our ADA is kind of, going down significantly. So we're going to talk about that on the next slide, our shift from this year and last year, about a 7.5% drop in student enrollment, which is, the hold harmless evaporates next year. So we will have to make good on that enrollment number, and that'll be about a $7.5 million hit for us financially next year. So if we go to the next slide, you can see how that rolls out in our multi-year projection. So just a couple things that we talked about on what's labeled line 7, you can see that statutory pension costs and how that's going to continue to climb over the next couple of years. Next year is going to be the biggest jump, and then it kind of stabilizes. STIRS kind of freezes at that point, and then PERS just continues to inch up a little bit after that. But on line 2, you can see where our funding per student, our base funding, the core of how we're funding our school district, you can see how we're losing $6 million next year. And that's sadly the offset of our 7.5% drop in enrollment, offset by the cost of living adjustment that the state is giving us. So we're net losing next year, and that puts us in an unfortunate situation. And as you look on line 14, you're going to see that what we're going to need to do in the out years to stabilize our budget and keep a 3% reserve. And what that means is, some cost effectiveness next year, about $1 million, and then another $8 million the year after that, and then another $7 million the year after that. So some of the things that we'll need to look at, we have a lot of, fabulous new programs that we put into place, trying to regain the footing that we lost during COVID and stabilize our schools and our children. We'll need to look at all of the programs we have throughout the district to see where we can make changes. We're working really hard on marketing and trying to make sure the residents of our school district come to our schools, know how wonderful they are, so that we can do everything we can to retain the market share in our area. But the unfortunate reality is, throughout most of California, school-aged children are reducing. People are moving out of state. It's just too expensive for young families to live here. So this is the scenario with the current cost of living in play. And then I think, and we've got a couple more slides with the economy results, they're coming in, the reports are saying that the economy is robust and we're going to see more money for schools. We don't actually know where that money's going to land, but if just based on, the rumors out there, the cost of living could really double, more than double next year. The other 2 out years are going to kind of wash between the two of them. So we did plug these in. Our official first interim report is the multi-year that I just shared with you. But if we were to change the cost of living, our next slide shows, I think 2 slides from there shows what happens in terms of the number of cuts we'll have to make. It would, instead of, 8 million this year 2, it's 4 million the year 2, but then we would still have to do another 7 million after that. So it's going to, slow it down, but we will need to adjust our spending for the enrollment that we have as it goes down. So that's the basic summary. And at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on the interim report that was in your board agenda.
Just again, thank you. Ms. Couple and I have spent a lot of time in committee with you on this over the last year, but I appreciate all the time and effort. I think, man, it's always it's like a calculator and a crayon together. You had to be both creative, but also the numbers are really there every time I get here, and I appreciate that effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties, there always is, and we are up to the challenge.
If you'd like a motion to approve, I'm happy to make one. Motion to approve the interim budget report.
Second?
Okay. Student board vote?
Aye.
Board vote?
Aye.
Okay. Passes? Okay.
4-0. Track.
Okay. Approval of district audit report? Ms. Kimball?
I'll just keep on diving.
Chug along.
Okay, so coming in from the screen above, we have the partner with our new audit firm, Eide Bailey. This is partner CPA Andrew Park, and he has, this was the first year we had with these auditors, and I will not couch it too much because it was really a challenge for the team. Christine's team had a lot of new procedures to work through, new portals, new procedures and interfaces, and they chugged through it, and lots of perseverance. And as I think Mr. Lawrence and Ms. Cutbill would say, they met with the auditors and understood kind of how it all went, and I will turn it over.
As the board knows, we have engaged in a conversation around adding a 4th credential program for the last year and a half. We postponed the authorship of this program when the pandemic hit to focus on all of our priority areas. One of our key priority areas in LVUSD and in this region is to make sure we have eligible and amazing educators for our schools when people leave the area or retire. In the area of special education, our workforce is very thin in terms of applicants. So this program is a goal. The goal and the benefit to the district is to prepare and grow our own through the amazing leadership of Ms. Falk and her team, and many of the amazing educators and teachers that we have here. I know the board has heard this. The direction you gave in the fall was to come back right before submitting it to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing to get the board's direction to give the thumbs up. Just Dr. Stepp went over this earlier tonight, but we've had about 250 educators go through our programs, and now roughly have 30 districts interfacing with us. Why that's exciting is a lot of great it benefits the development of our staff to see the diversity of thought, and also helps introduce new staff to Las Virgenes that might want to come work here as well. It also has benefited the general fund to the tune of about $750,000. We have a grant that we received several years ago for $1.5 million to provide scholarships for special education teachers. Candidly, that even with those funds and the scholarship, it has been hard to spend it as much as we want, given how there's obstacles to going through a university, to use these funds, and that amount does not cover the cost of the tuition cost of most universities. So the goal here is to use these grant funds for the next couple years to provide those scholarships, but provide them through Las Virgenes when this program becomes accredited. Just some benefits again. So basically, this allows us to have 4 years of preparation for all special education teachers. And given the complexity of the job, this is really an exciting prospect. Expands our pool and also expands it returns funding to the general fund so we can support other efforts that support teachers, staff, and students in our district. It's a 2-year program. Within the paper, just give you the cliff notes. It's 2 years. It's evening classes. So this is a 2-year program. Every other program we have, I should say, our other preliminary program is 1 year. It'd be 2 classes per week for 10-week quarters, 8 quarters, 16 courses to complete 600 hours of student teaching. And so our faculty would ideally include current teachers and administrators. It's a great way to get our amazing teachers involved in being faculty for Center edX. And they have to pass a state assessment, the Cal TPA. All those factors were considered by our advisory board. This team, you have to, per the commission, put together an advisory team to inform the development of the program and the initial syllabi. If the board approves the submission of the program, our next steps this spring would be to recruit and recommend the faculty for the program. It'll be about 30 faculty that would be needed to offer those courses, and then recommend to the board those individuals for hire with the first class or the first cohort of this program starting ideally in fall of '22 will be the first program in the state to have a program under these new standards. And we've gone over these before, but here are the courses, should you want the fine print, but there's a deeper dive in here. We've been talking about this in committees and for several years, but here again is our timeline with the board's direction tonight. If the board approves, we will submit this tomorrow to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. It takes about 6 months for the review and revision, and we're optimistic, as is the commission, that they can grant us accreditation by the summer.
Question, so you don't have to wait to hear from them to be accredited before you go through all this on the timeline, all these?
Accreditation is a given that we have accredited programs. Unlike, remember 3 years ago when we started, it was new land, new territory. This is a matter of how many revisions we need. And so if you remember when we built the first cohort of PASC, we had to build it before, as we built it as the accreditation came through, and that's the same idea. Because to be able to, let's say they give us our accreditation in June or July, in order to roll it out, we need the faculty and the system ready to go.
Would you like a motion to approve?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gleason.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Any questions? Any other? Okay. Student vote?
True. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, well, it's a pleasure. Good evening, everybody, members of the board, Madam President. It was a pleasure meeting with the Finance Committee on December 3rd. As you can see on the audit report that hopefully you received by the 7th, we issued it on the 3rd, and we had a pretty meaningful discussion during the audit committee. So to quickly summarize the audit and how it went, and again, I'm going to read this verbatim from the audit report under the opinion header. In our opinion, the financial statements.
Wonderful. All right.
Well, thank you,
We
Mr.
lost
Park.
There
Are
he
you
is.
still there? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know that,
Thank you.
Andrew.
I know Andrew doesn't,
out there.
he's not disappointed that he didn't have to make a 2-hour drive in the rain to get here tonight. So Zoom has its advantages.
Yeah, my perspective, I'm fine with this in the future. I don't think we
Yeah.
need to have our auditors haul down here for this. They can certainly do this via Zoom.
I think it's definitely an advantage for them, so,
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Back to Ms.
Okay.
Animal.
All right, I'm going
And
to just,
can I just say, when we had our meeting with him, he talked about how helpful and just great it was to work with your team. So
thank you.
I'm not surprised, but always like to hear that.
I'll pass that along. I know it was interesting. They've never gone through a change in audit firms before, and the amount of extra effort.
I mean, he especially called out Christine. He said he worked
She-
a lot with her, and
yeah.
she was great, and just always love that feedback, so.
That's very sweet. Thank you. I'll share that with her. Maybe it'll make her feel a little less green than she's feeling right now. So my last action item tonight, Madam President, members of the board, we have a resolution number 6-21. This is our annual and 5-year developer fee report. This is a report that shows how much we received in collections for the developer fees. We're still lower than our average. Normal years, we would collect around $700,000, and we were about half of that last school year. But it just outlines the way the funds were utilized, and there's a full report here that is nice and clean and easy for the public to understand, and it gets posted. It was posted, I believe, 10 days in advance of this meeting, and it will be on our website as well. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
This one's, oh, sorry.
We have $8 million in the ending balance.
We do, and we've kind of earmarked that to pay off our certificate of participation, that credit line, and we're about $1 million shy of having enough money to pay that off.
Right, because that's at 11 million?
We're actually $9.6 million, our balance right now in that credit line.
Well, where did I see
So,
11 million?
It's been going down over the years.
Okay,
Slowly
great.
but steadily.
Great, yes, thank you
Yeah.
for paying it off, for collecting and paying it off.
That's our goal.
Do you see an increase at all in that?
I mean, I just signed 3 today, so it's
Oh,
just, it
good.
seems like they go in spurts. I don't know if it's the way that they're releasing them from the county for the, the permits and things like
That's what I
that. But
There's
it sounds like a lot of
backlog.
people, this is going to be their New Year's resolution to work on their homes. So hopefully it'll go back and be an uptick, so.
Would you like a motion to approve?
Motion to approve,
Motion to approve?
Second? Oops, somebody second, okay.
and student vote,
Aye.
board vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, item 4, approval of acceptance of grant proposition 56.
Madam President, members of the board, as I mentioned during my staff comm, we will bring this back with a resolution and MOU in January.
Motion to approve the, oh, did you want it pulled? I'm sorry. No, we need to, we don't vote on it.
Nope,
Okay.
pull it.
Okay.
No action required. We can move on to number 5.
Okay. And 5, approval of educator effectiveness block grant.
Dr. Gleason.
Mr. Klein, is that? There we go. Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, so this is a presentation of the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. The board has already heard this in an info item. The statute requires this to be brought in 2 meetings for action. Just a brief reminder, and this, of course, has gone to multiple committees. There's $2.2 million allocated to us in this grant for professional development for classified, certificated, and management. And the intent is to focus on supporting all the impacts post-COVID. We've worked with a certificated team and a classified team, and we were given really 2 months to develop a plan that we want to be very thoughtful on. So the plan you have tonight is an initial kind of focus in on where we want to go, but we want to continue to work with LVCA and LVEA on how to use those funds over the course of the 5 years that we have it. Essentially, big themes from classified are really a need to grow in their positions, a need to develop skills for some of the areas in our workforce that are hard to fill. Certificated had a range of requests regarding more focus on the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, our SEL efforts. But really, our certificated staff, I'd say a big theme is time to collaborate. They're craving time to be together with grade alike and job alike. Can also use these funds for some of the new mandates that are coming down the pike, such as our TK, our need to expand our workforce who has the eligibility to teach transitional kindergarten and has the appropriate permits. So here's our next step. So if the board approves it, we will submit this to LA County Office of Education, which we have to by the 31st of this month per statute. And then, of course, our work doesn't stop here. It's only just begun to continue to bring the funds and the plan and any adjustments to pathways and safety and wellness for feedback and guidance, as well as finance.
We've already had information on this, but
Right?
can
Yep.
I make a motion, or we want more questions? I'll make a motion to approve. But for those watching at home, we've already had a full in-depth conversation on this and information on it before, so it's the second reading of it.
I'll second it and just say, thank you for the collaborative spirit with this, to be able to bring in LVCA and LVEA to discuss it with our stakeholders that actually are going to implement it. So that's terrific. Thank you.
Agreed. Okay, student vote?
Aye.
Board vote?
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, item 6, submission of Center edX Special Education Teacher Credential Program. Oh,
Oh, wow.
All right. So the agenda item just says we do have the written copy here if any member of the public or wants to review this. Madam President, members of the board, this is a
okay. Items for information. Just quickly, our board members, we have attached our current board committee assignments. So if you could take a few minutes on your own to review those and get back to me your top 3 choices so that we can make new assignments for the upcoming year. And that would be the same, I believe, for the superintendent's committee assignments. And
Absolutely.
get back to us your top 3 choices for that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Then,
Great first meeting, Madam President.
okay. And we are adjourned.